Hello, I'm Lawrence. I'm from the UK Health Alliance on climate change, and I'm here to talk about our recommendations for building a healthier and more sustainable food system. So, to introduce the Alliance, we bring together bodies representing health professionals across the UK, and we advocate for responses to climate change that simultaneously improve public health. And there are many of these. For example, some of them are quite obvious, like walking and cycling more and driving less. And food is another area in which there's incredible potential to improve health and reduce emissions. Because at the moment, food accounts for over a quarter of total global emissions. So reducing this section of emissions should be a really central part of Scotland's plan to tackle climate change. But luckily, 2/3 of health professionals agree that changing your diet in a way that reduces its environmental impact can also improve your health, so we can realise a co-benefit there. And perhaps more strikingly, almost half of UK health professionals have already voted with their mouths and changed their diet due to environmental concerns. So that's 40% overall, and that rises to 50% of nurses and midwives. So this isn't going to change on a wide scale without the government taking action, and we've released a series of recommendations of how we think that they should be tackling this. So to start with, we believe that there should be a lot more information and advice out there for the public. Existing public information campaigns on diet should include climate messages, and health professionals and patients should be supported with more information on transitioning to a climate-friendly diet. So materials like the sort that you might get from your doctor if you're having a conversation with them about stopping smoking, for example. And secondly, that information should extend to purchasing. So when you're in a shop, you should be able to see clear environmental labelling. We believe the government should introduce labelling that shows the carbon impact of food. Exactly what that looks like, we believe they should commission independent research to find out what's the most effective form, but it should be clear, perhaps a little bit like the existing labelling for nutrition that already is on food. And there's strong public support for that as well. A YouGov poll in 2019 showed that 2/3 of the public support that idea. And thirdly, the government has a huge potential to make change just by changing their own practice. As the public services are a huge procurer of food and catering services, by introducing minimum environmental standards for catering within the public services, so we're talking about schools, hospitals, social care, the government could dramatically increase the supply of sustainable food, shifting the market, and also increase people's familiarity with sustainable food options. And to do this, there are various templates they could use that already exist, or they could use look into getting a new one. But existing templates include the PHE Eat Well Guide, the BDA Blue Dot Standard, and the Lancet Planetary Health Diet, of course. Next, we believe that the government should end the practice of buy one, get one free promotions for unhealthy and perishable foods. And it sounds a bit controversial, but both Nicola Sturgeon and Boris Johnson have proposed doing this, and they obviously have quite different political views. Across the UK, we waste over 7 million tonnes of food every year, and many foods that are especially highly processed and perishable foods are only available in bulk and are frequently sold in buy one, get one free deals. And research suggests that these deals, as well as contributing to food waste and associated emissions, also contribute to obesity. Next, and again slightly controversially, we believe that the government should signal that it intends to levy a tax on all food producers according to the carbon impact of their products by 2025 if they don't take voluntary action to reduce the impact of those products. Now, this is based on the polluter pays principle, which simply says that those responsible for damaging the environment should pay the cost for it. And there's evidence that this sort of scheme has worked in the past. The so-called sugar tax was successful in that it significantly changed manufacturers' behaviour. And by changing manufacturers' behaviour, it can have greater impact than trying to change individuals' behaviour. And so what was found was that over 50% of manufacturers reformulated their products to reduce the sugar contained within them to avoid the tax. and therefore consumers themselves didn't have to pay any more. And that's where we believe the burden should be on the producers rather than the consumers. And lastly, it's clear that to make these changes is going to be a big challenge, and therefore we'd like to see a cross-departmental ministerial working group to bring together thinking on food, farming, health, climate change and trade, because it's all part of one big picture and can't be viewed independently.